and if you don't see it, you don't know that it happens. I mean, they said the figure is like 300 and some homeless people in Bismarck on any given day. It's like 334 or something like that. But I mean, if you think of the Bismarck being 60,000 people, and you have 334, I mean, that's like less than 0.5% of the people that are homeless, and you just don't see it.
Well, everybody, I feel, has homelessness in the Hollywood version. We don't see the signs on the street. We don't see the alleyways cluttered with cardboard boxes and blankets, and we have that picture, but this is North Dakota, -50.
Or you do see it, but you just don't recognize it.
Since 1987, and it was started back then by a group of people who wrote a grant, a Helping Hands grant. The community at that time was in need of housing for homeless men, and then over the years, the people who are homeless and that kind of thing, the amount of housing that we have has changed. We started with that one house that could serve 7 men, and we're now at facilities that can house, our homeless shelters can house up to 60 people in any given night.
You know, I've never been in a situation like this ever. You know, I've owned my own home, I'm very successful in what I've done, and it was just a situation that the agency, again, like I say, recommended this might be a good place for you for the time being. It was very traumatic.
So there are 3 bedrooms that look very similar to this, and they're expected to keep their rooms clean and clean the showers and stuff like that. Yeah. I feel kind of bad that they have to sleep in bunk beds, but I guess it's, we can keep more people that way. We don't have, one of the things we don't have the luxury of is very much space around here. We could use more space. So
it was very traumatic, because now I leave my home and I come into a situation and I'm with 17, 18, 20 strangers that I don't know, and I don't know their situation, why they're here, and so on and so forth. I spent many nights crying. This just wasn't what I came from.
A lot of them don't have anywhere else to go, and like tonight it's -10 out. Nobody wants to be outside for an extended period of time, so Ruth Myers is a big help with the community as far as a place for someone to go when it's like it is out tonight. Summertime it's a little bit different. We can offer it to them, but a lot of them, I guess, prefer to be outside if it's still 50, 60 degrees outside instead of going to Ruth Myers.
I had a young man, he had lived in his car, lived in multiple places, and once he turned 18, we were all excited because he could get his own place. So I got him some sponsors, he got an apartment, it was really exciting. He came, it was fully furnished. I mean, all I had to do was show up. He gets there, puts the stuff in the middle of the living room, never moved in. And I was like, what's up with that? I'm confused by that. And he's like, it's, the refrigerator makes noise, the people walk above you, everything creaks. And I sit there and I think, really? Familiarity. When he lived in his car, he knew the noises it made. He understood what it looked like. But all of a sudden he moved into this place all by himself. It's a different type of transition. And sometimes what we think is normal and good for somebody maybe isn't ready for them. They haven't made that adjustment.
I don't know, it's not the most ideal living conditions. I was in there on Tuesday night, back in the residence area, and there was 8 people in a room. I mean, that's 8 complete strangers. There are 7 complete strangers that you're with. We're gonna go to that. Headquarters 237.
237.
Copy, 3rd and Bowen.
I'm TC,
And I was born in North Dakota, and my folks moved out west when I was a kid. And I had abusive parents that basically left me feeling more comfortable running away from home than being at home. I spent several years being a runaway, living out on the streets. I had my daughter at 14 and pretty much thought that that was my life. I was going to be a street kid and beg, borrow, steal, and do whatever I could to make money out west. And so then I went back to school after my 2-year degree out at Mary and was in their social work program for about 3/4 of a semester. I had joined the military. I was in the Navy Reserves. I was working 2 jobs. I had a 9-year-old daughter. One night driving home from Aberdeen, we hit a train. And I broke my neck in 3 places and was paralyzed with Brown-Sequard syndrome and multiple other broken bones and injuries. I lost my military, my jobs, my home, my child. Basically, my life went bye-bye in about a half a day.
I'm the single point of entry coordinator for the Bismarck-Mandan area. So anybody who's homeless or at risk of being homeless, they are referred to me. I assess their needs and figure out kind of what they need, and I put them in contact with the proper agencies.
I mean, I've got several that I just sit there and I think, you think you know what's good to help somebody. Maybe they're not. Maybe food isn't their priority. Maybe all they want is a winter coat. Maybe they just want a pair of shoes that's going to fit for once, because you know that's like a whole new thing. Is, you know, I get a lot of shoes that are donated to me, and sometimes they're really nice and sometimes they're not. But when you have a kid who might have big feet or wide feet or narrow feet, you know, those are special shoes. And so I now look for people who will help me sponsor to go get a kid a pair of shoes that actually fits. You know, how do you know? You could be a natural born runner, but if you keep wearing shoes that are too small or too big, we're not going to know. You're not going to want to feel like running. So if we can come together and figure out what we can do to best serve you, to me that makes the deal for a lot of kids.
We run short on funding a lot. You know, people get shut off notices for their utilities, and there's no funding to help them, you know, turn their electricity back on. So oftentimes these families are sitting without electricity for days, even weeks, until they can, you know, afford to get it because the agencies are all out of money.
We actually, one call during the day, the bathrooms that are down here, they had done snow removal on the paths, and the snowplow pushed snow up against the door of one of the bathrooms, and a walker was walking and heard someone yelling for help. This person had gotten barricaded into the bathroom. The snow had pushed up against the door. They couldn't open the door. It swung out. So they were stuck in the bathroom. When we got down there, dug the snow out, he was able to get out and acted like he was just there in the bathroom and the snowplow came. But I mean, he had coats in there. He had covered up the vents on the top to keep the cold air from coming in. I mean, you could obviously tell he was living in there. So it's anywhere they can find shelter.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot more families that are doubled up and tripled up. It's not uncommon to walk in a single wide trailer and find 20 people living there. And that's, when you think about it, 20 people in a single wide, it's pretty crowded. And then I always think about where do they eat? Okay, how do they eat? How do you shower when there's only one bathroom, there's 20 people there to share it? Where does everybody get to sleep? What does that look like? So you can begin to understand why kids come to school tired and hungry and angry and frustrated. I get it. I mean, it's not like it's a thing, it's just what it is. And I think when we talk about homelessness here in Bismarck, you know, even it's just a tough concept because we are so cold. You don't drive down and see people sleeping in their cars. We do have a lot of people that sleep in their cars, but not as visible as you probably would in the bigger cities. Like, you know, under bridges. I mean, think about the movies that you watch, how they always portray homelessness. You're not going to find it like that out here in Bismarck, no.
If we could, you know, if I could find more places to put women and children, that's a big issue because our shelter's always full. There's no funding to put people in hotel rooms. So, you know, oftentimes they have to resort to the drop-in center, which is just during the winter, it's 10 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. So anybody who has children, that's kind of awkward times for a child to be going to bed at night, you know, having to get up and go to school. Oftentimes, you know, a lot of times they're very young, but, you know, they're up and out by 6 because we don't have the staff to staff at 24 hours, so they have to leave.
And when you think about, you know, education is important, but if you go to school and you're hungry and you're tired, you're not sure where you're going to go at night, it takes on a whole new meaning on your level of success. What are you going to focus on? I mean, I sit there and I think, you know, how many times have you gone to class and you've been there and you're like hungry or tired and you're not focused? Well, you can't afford those kind of days when you miss so many days of school. And so how do you get into the scheme? And really, if you have been in 12 different schools, let's say maybe in a full year, you've probably attended, I want to just say, 4 months worth of schooling. Do you want to read out loud? Would you really want someone to call on you to do the math problem? I think it takes on that feeling of uncomfortability, and then you start to feel ignorant and unprepared, and you know there's some of those types of things that I think are more painful to witness. I had one little boy who just refused to make friends because he felt every time he made a friend they moved.
Yeah, and some of them, I mean, if they know they're homeless, and if they're just trying to do their own thing, the last thing they want to do is get, I mean, us to keep harassing them and harassing them and harassing them if they're not bothering anybody. Because some people are down on their luck, they lost their job, or something happened that made them lose their house or put them out on the street. And like you said, they had a hard enough time accepting that fact. And they're not trying to cause problems or anything like that. They're trying to do the best that they can. And people keep calling on them. So if they keep getting reminded that they're homeless, like you said, it might be hard for them to accept the fact that they are homeless.
You know, people that are here, they're not here really that they want to be here. You know, they want to get out and work. They want to get their own place. They don't want to just be here for, you know, no reason. And
well, the biggest thing I get out of a lot of guys is, you know, they're pretty down and out when they come in here, and they don't lose hope. You know, they try, and they do what they got to do. They look for a job, and there's a lot of positive attitude going on here, and that's good to see.
You know.
So what can you take away from this? What's your
well, it's a learning experience. One thing I really am going to take away from this is understanding homeless people, because before I came over here, you know, the idea of a homeless person in my head was just, you know, what I'd see on TV or what I'd hear about, you know, almost portrayed as somebody that's, you know, laying on a park bench, you know, or just trying to do nothing with their lives, you know. And I find since I've been over here, it's the opposite. You know,
when you do hit bottom like that, they still have an attitude where they can get back out of it and get their life back on track. And that's basically what we're all about, I guess.
Just a lot of hard work, learning how to overcome pain, learning how to listen to doctors and still understand that they're not God and they don't know everything, that when they tell you you'll never work again, you don't always listen to them, that yes, they understand the medical aspect of breaking your bones, but they don't understand that you still have to get on with life, and pain is something you can get over. You know, it's not real fun, but you have to deal with it and have a life, or else you're going to sit around all day going, I want to die. You know, I don't want to live. It's no fun to live if all you have is nothing.
You know, they always say that, you know, people are one paycheck away from being homeless or losing their homes, and that's the truth. You know, everybody that's up here, these fellows that are on the other side that are in the shelter area, they've all had jobs, they've all worked, you know, they've done things. Well, they've fallen down, you know, and are trying to get back up. And, you know, don't look at homeless people as lazy bums or people that just have nothing in life. They want to do nothing, because that's not the case, you know. There's not one person out here that doesn't want to get out of here and better themselves. Just to give a helping hand to homeless people if you can. Just be nice to homeless people, because they're good people too. Yeah.
I'm trying to tell if you asking